Bum. Hey, what's happening, man? What's up, guys? We're live. I'm back after 8 weeks of roughly, about 2 months of working on a night shift, a darker night shift. I was getting home late. I couldn't be online, so that's all done. Now we're back to the days, and we're live again. So happy to be back. It was rough. I mean, it was kind of nice being able to sleep in a little bit every day, but it sure is nice getting off early enough to get home on a decent hour and do this. So, going to hang out since this is the first one back. We're going to hang out a little bit, wait for some people join in, and we'll get started. I've actually made some progress on this in the meantime. It was a few days that I was able to work on it, and I'll go over all the things that I've done up till now. And if you're joining right now, you're in the chat, say hello, what's going on, and comments always help. Also, like, share, subscribe, all the usual things. So anyway, we're working on the Ornithopter still. This is part 14. Part 14. And let me go down here. Let's move it on down to the down look. So I got a few. We're going to be doing panel lines tonight. I got a few products out here that my go-to stuff. Got some panel line accent color from Tamiya. Got my AK odorless thinner, and got other stuff there. And most of the Ornithopter is together. I have not secured the landing gear on yet. I was just using that basically to sit here. And also, if you cannot see through the windows, that's because Julius is up first. Welcome back. Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you too, man. So what you're looking at on the canopy is there is masking film from this masking set that I bought. Here is the empty sheet of all of the masking pieces. Those are still on. The glass of the canopy is not glued down. I can pull this off because I still got to put the pilot in and put the figures inside and do all that. But for clear coat purposes and panel lining, stuff like that, I didn't want to, you don't want to get any overspray on the glass, so I left it on. And then at the last minute, I will pull all of these masking pieces off. You can even see a little bit of tape, like right here, from where I wasn't quite perfectly centered onto it, so I had to put some tape on the old-fashioned way and cover up a little bit. So when I do the final, the flat coating after the panel lines and stuff, there's really no decals. There isn't any in this kit, so it's just going to be sealing everything and going from there. So let me move into the close-up here, and I'll explain these the wing receivers here. So if you were here before, let me get this out of the way. The photo etch body that goes inside of this is at a fixed angle. So all of these receivers would be at a fixed angle. What the original kit had ball joints with like a mesh kind of system that you could pivot them slightly. There wasn't a lot of flexibility, but they would move a little bit. So with the photo etch, again, they're at fixed angles, but they're also at the wrong depth. If I was to just glue these in, these two in the back especially would be really sunk in very, very far, and as well as these two up here. So what I did was I just made some shims with some 1 mil by, I think this is 10 mil plastic strip, and then I just laminated several together. So I had I think it was 0. Either they didn't need any at all, or they needed 2 millimeter and 3 millimeter, 1, 2, and 3. So I figured out when I placed them in there, I saw where they were, and then I experimented with the depth, depending on how thick I needed. So if you look at, like, say, the back receiver here, it's just a black hole there, but you see how this one's white? That's because it has a shim behind it. And that was to bring that receiver out a little bit to make it flush with the opening. These are tilted up slightly. So I think what's going to be interesting is when I get this whole thing together, is when I put the wings in, they're going to really be splayed out at different angles, to almost simulate that flying motion that they have in the film, because they're not going to be flapping in unison. I think they're going to be more like alternating. So you'll have some that are angled up a little bit more, some that are level, and then others might be, like the side ones here, might be angled down a little bit, just by way of how the angles of that photo etch body inside. So the rear top ones here were the only two that did not get a shim. All the others did in some form or another. You can see the white plastic underneath there. So, oops, what's going on here? My mouse went over. Just making sure I don't lose my live stream here. So, and also, everything has been painted. The canopy. I also had some seam fixes here with this roof piece that went on here. I had to fix seams here, and here, and along the back. Those are all done. The canopy has an intentional seam here, as well as around back. So that is not going to be. I'm not going to eliminate those lines here. Those are intentional, and they'll stay there. And like I said, the landing gear has just been clear coated, but I still got to pull it off so I can do all the panel lining. There's a lot of fine level details in here that need to be addressed with panel lines. But one of the things I was trying to consider was which color to use. Do I use black, my go-to, black accent color? I think in this case I'm going to use dark brown. I might actually try a lighter brown. I'm not sure, but for the time being, I think I'll try to see what the dark brown looks like. If I get too light a color, it may not even be visible. So I want to have something that has a little bit of tone to it, other than black, not quite as dark as black, but all the wings have been painted and sealed. You can see the shine there, all clear coated, ready to go for panel lines. So that's pretty much this whole episode. It's going to be nothing but panel lining. So I know it's a little mundane, but sit back, let me know what kind of project you're working on. It's been a while. I was thinking back to the last time that I had to take an extended leave like this, and that was when my mother passed away. It was like 3 years ago in February, and I had to travel to Arizona and spend 8 weeks in Arizona dealing with the estate and all that stuff. And so there was quite a bit of time there that I was not on. And then I remember that first night when I came back, and it was really good to be back. So happy to be here. Thanks everybody who stuck around and stuck with me this whole time during this process of this new job. And I was there for really just about a month, and then I got asked to do this other role as the electric delivery van manager in the evening. So I did that, and but my friend who was the manager went out on medical. He is now back, so now it's all done, and we're back to working the 7 to 4 shift. So anyway, cheers everybody. Thanks for sticking with me. Let's get started. And hopefully some more people will chime into the chat, let us know what's going on. So I'm just going to remove, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I think I might do one of the wings first, just to kind of see what those are going to look like with the brown. I can always go over it with a darker colors, like the black. But so I'm going to start with that, and then we'll see what that looks like. So I'm just going to grab one of these here. These things are huge. I mean, these wings, let me see if I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If you take up the entire arm and the wing, it's about 14 inches each side. So that's over 28 inches wingspan. It's pretty massive wingspan. But I guess if you were to take these, install them, and then rotate them back, which you could do, these do have a little. There's a notchy kind of pivot point here, which is kind of nice because it gives you different. You get a positive feel there, but you could actually swivel them backwards. But I did have all these labeled as well as top or bottom, because in the original kit build, you had to install these in a certain way because they would rotate before they folded back. And so just in case I didn't, needed to be accurate as far as which one went in which socket, I labeled them T or B for top or bottom. So that way I know that this one will go in one of the 4 lower receivers, and then I've got 4 others that will go in the top receivers. But anyway, let's get started. I'm just going to shake up my panel line color, start going. And like I always said, my go-to cleaner is my AK odorless enamel thinner. I really like it. It is indeed truly odorless. It does not get some of the enamel products out there. You can get a really can be very fragrant, for lack of a better term. But I do like that stuff. It is truly odorless and works great for doing lots of things like this kind of stuff, or reverse washes. All great stuff. And another thing I'm doing right now too is I'm also working at the Renaissance Fair, so that's another thing that kind of tends to get in the way sometimes. I'm still going to make sure that I come in here and do this every Wednesday, even though we're working on the weekends. I want to make sure that I'm available to do the live stream. So even if I'm running on vapors, which is kind of what I'm doing right now, I've got to do the job's got me doing a relative very physical job right now. We're labeling the entire shop. Basically, if you're familiar with some shops where everything, I call it 5 S's, but everything has a place. So they want you to sort everything out. Everything has a home. You place, everything's labeled, like this is where this goes, that's where that goes, and everything has to be taped off with different colors of tape. So that's what I've been tasked with doing. Now that I'm back on the day shift, they've asked me to manage getting all of it done, which essentially means I'm pretty much doing it all myself. And I'm not complaining. It is tough work. And I could get some of my express team guys to help with it. However, they also have a job to do. They also have, fixing customer vehicles. So if I can at least check it, what I've been doing is just checking in with them every so often, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. And I'm just continuing plugging away on the taping. And most of it, most of the small stuff is done already. I finished, all the fire extinguisher locations, and I gotta shake this up again. This thing's been sitting for a while. I don't use the brown very often, so I'm gonna make sure that sediment is off the bottom. But I think this is going to be a good color because it's still dark enough that you can see it nicely over the this is the IDF gray number 2, which is it's kind of more like an olive type of drab color, but there's two different IDF colors in gray anyway. That one is the darker of the two, the one I'm using, and that's a perfect match for the color scheme for the kit and the movie. But I think this dark brown is nice. It's a nice contrast. It's not too dark like the black might have been. So far it looks like it's showing up nicely. And so I'm going to do just one side of this first and get a rough idea what it's going to take a while to do all this stuff. There's a lot of these wings, again, are huge. And so I've got quite a bit of paneling on each piece that has to be done. And then, of course, I've got the body and the fuselage. But no decals, again, no decals in the kit. Just a logo, which is actually a fitted plastic piece that just fits into the side. of the body, but that's it. Other than that, it's all one color except for the interior, which I've painted some of the floor in a different gray. The floor and the walls are a different interior color. But yeah, the rest is just one body color. So I did a little bit of pre-shading. I used my black primer as my pre-shade rather than going back over everything in black. After I primed it in black, it seemed a little redundant. You can kind of skip a step by doing doing the black primer and then using that as your pre-shade color. It works perfectly, and I'm using Gaia Notes primers. I've got both the black and the gray, and then of course for my clear coats, I'm also using Gaia Notes, which I've kind of fallen in love with. I always like the way the Mr. Color clear coats performed, but Gaia Notes is so good, so clean. It finishes very nicely. It lays down perfectly using leveling thinner. Mr. Color leveling thinner works great with that, and so yeah, I think that's going to be my go-to from now on. Even though I have quite a bit of Mr. Color clears as well. There's nothing wrong with that. I've also decanted my own clear coats quite a bit over the years. What's up, Giovanni? Glad to be here. Thanks. I'm glad to have you, man. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. This is the first, well, not really the first episode. I did an impromptu live stream a few weeks ago. I was kind of just on a Saturday. My wife's like, "Why don't you just pop on? Don't announce anything. Just pop on, do a quick little live stream." And I was surprised to see that a lot of people showed up for that. But now everything's officially done. I am back on the day shift. It wasn't really a night shift like overnight, if I'm being honest. It was just late. I would start at 11, even though I showed up around 10 a.m. Starting at 11, finish at 7 o'clock. The drive home was at least an hour, no matter what. So by the time I got home, it's 8 o'clock on the Pacific Coast. So can you imagine trying to do a live stream and getting some East Coast people to watch this? It probably wouldn't happen. Just because it's by the time I get home at 8 o'clock, it's 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock Eastern time, which is a hard ask to ask anyone to do that. So that's why I just didn't do it. And besides that, I was also so tired. So most of the time I get home, by the time I get home, I just wiped, take a shower, maybe eat something, and go to bed, do it all over again the next day. So another thing to think about too is my friend of mine who was out on medical, happy to say he's doing well and he's back, of course, and that's why I'm back as well. I'm just glad to hear that he is healthy now, or at least they know what was wrong with him, and he was able to, and now he's on some meds and stuff like that will keep him going in the right direction. And this guy I've known for over 15 years, been a long time friend, and I was kind of worried about him for a while there. Anytime you have any kind of heart condition, it's scary, and then you just don't know. It's the not knowing part. But he's I figured out what it was, and he's good to go. So glad to hear he's back. Baba Central, yo! All right, is this somebody I work with? It's somebody new in the chat. Let me know. Boba Central. You can just say yes or no. This is one of my coworkers coming in for the first time, hanging out in the chat. Yep. All right, I'm going to say Isaiah. And you can say yes or no. So, good to have you. Thanks for joining in. We're just hanging. We're just getting back into it, man. It's been 8 weeks, roughly 2 months. I don't remember exactly how many weeks, but yep. Okay. Good to have you, Isaiah. So, anyway, we're doing some panel lines tonight. It's pretty much going to be nothing but, because that's where we're at. I was trying to do it last week, come back to the live stream, but I needed to clear code everything. I didn't have any place to go with. Had I done the live stream, there wasn't anything I could do. I couldn't do the panel lines because I didn't have the clear codes done. So I just took the time this last week after this weekend, or last weekend, excuse me, to clear coat what I had, and that way everything was set up for this live stream. And by the way, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'll put them up on screen and I'll answer them if I can. I've only done one side of this wing too. Still got to do the other side, so there's quite a bit. But at least they're just large, flat, pretty easy to do. And we're just using AK odorless enamel thinner to take off the excess panel line color from Tamiya. This is what I'm using here. We're just going to do the other side. Yo. Anybody else got a project they're working on? I would hope so. I would hope nothing changed in my absence, that most of the people that watch this always have something going on. I know, Isaiah, you're still working on your RC cars, which is cool. I used to do that a long time ago. My dad, back before, electronic speed control, it was like everything was done with servos. When I was a kid, it was everything, anything to do with RC stuff. It was all servos, even the steering, servos, and relatively unreliable type, electronics. But I remember at one point, the new thing was electronic speed control. And it was this little module that you could replace the servos with, and it's much more reliable. You still had a servo for steering, though. But at least the speed control part wasn't this, blade going across the top of a, copper contact. And, the things would wear out. You could, those copper contacts, you got this blade basically sliding across this 4 different tabs. That was that was your speed. It was like, depending on which one you crossed over, it was like either 1, 2, 3, or 4. Still working on the 86, prepping body for paint at the moment. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, if you're ever into RC stuff, here's what Isaiah's doing. He's still working on the AE86. Yeah, you were painting that blue, weren't you? I think. Yeah, it was a blue color, I think, that I remember, if I remember correctly. Giovanni says he's about to finish the RG Tall Geese. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's got to be a really nice build. I think that even the Master Grade Tall Geese was amazing. Oh, the GR86. Yeah. It's supposed to be the GR. Yeah, that's right. Toyota version. Worked on a couple of those in the real world. GR86s. Toyota got married to Subaru for a little bit there. Started in collaboration with them. Yeah, the real grade Sosby too, and that's another partsy kit. I mean, I built the Master Grade Verka Sosby, and you want to talk about a lot of runners. I mean, it was probably, I don't remember, but I have a pegboard panel, kind of, there's different panels in front of my bench here that I reach to. I just put everything, I hang them on this pegboard, and I had the entire pegboard was full. I had panels like hanging over the sides. There's just no way to get them all in there. It was so many runners, so many parts. It was a long build, and then I took that kit and I got a resin dress-up kit for it, a really nice one, and added that to it as well, which made it even more complicated. Plus a photo etch set for it too. So yeah, there's a lot. And then I painted it in my Sinister color scheme, which is like gray and black and hexagonal pattern with some dark blue on like some of the chest and accent areas. And here we go. Twitch is going to start spamming me here. Impeccable C. I can't even read your name. AI viewer stream boo. See what I'm talking about? What is it, man? Can't we just do a live stream without somebody trying to sell something to me? That's so funny. I mean, I get a few people. I don't expect much out of Twitch, to be honest. I think my base is mostly on Facebook and YouTube. But yeah, it's all right. Whatever. Do what you want. Doesn't mean I'm going to sign up. Spam me all day long, I guess. All right. We're almost done with one wing. It's taking forever because there's so many, so long, and a lot of different panels. But it should look nice. Oh, missed one here. Giovanni says, I found an RE100 Bawu. Nice. Those are very nice, and you can modify them too. The REs are kind of like, for those that don't know, the REs are kind of like an HG kit with a frame. So they have an inner frame, but it's a little simpler than your standard Master Grade. So there's quite a bit of modification that can be done to them, because you got some of that level of detail which you like from a Master Grade, but in kind of like an HG high grade format. So it's kind of cool. And I'm not sure. I think I have a bottle. I think I built it. I think I just snapped it together. If I'm being, I gotta look behind me now. Maybe it's in my case. Yeah, it's in there. Is that the orange and yellow version, Giovanni? Is that the Balu, or is it a red one? I can't remember what I have one which I think is what you're talking about, but it's just snapped together. I didn't paint it yet. It was one of those things like when I was doing live streams early on, and if I got to a a spot where I was kind of couldn't do any live stream with the current project, it was just like I needed something to do on camera, and so I would have a kit on the side that when those days when I was like in a paint step or something where I needed to finish painting something before I could go on and do the live stream, I would just have a kit on the side that I would just snap on those off days, those 2-3 days or however long it took to get back off of the the paint booth. And that's why I did the Bavo, if I remember. So I've got a little bit of excess here. I'm just going to wipe this off. Okay. So not too bad. That's one wing. Oh, what's up, George? Geo's back. Geo's in the house. Mr. Old School. So done? Yes, I am back at it. So I'm going to park these wings because I just wanted to do one first to see what that brown panel line color was going to look like. Yeah, the regular RE Babu is red and orange. Yeah, that's the kind of thing. I think that's the one that I've got. I guess it's kind of like, it looks like, I don't know, mine is like, maybe it's an orangish reddish color, but it's kind of, the accent color is yellow. So maybe we're talking about the same kit. This, let's see, take that off. Regular Babu, yeah. That's a nice kit, though. Very cool. So I got an idea. I was thinking about taking these. I might just pop these arms off. This is the landing gear, and I had to kind of use pieces of both the retracted landing gear and the open landing gear. Like the front legs had to be the open version to accommodate because they're slid forward. And if I try to install these in the retracted version, they would get in the way of this lamp assembly. This is like a piece that goes underneath the nose, and it kind of has this. I guess there's a lighting system up here, but it sits about right here in the middle, so you can see why I had to have those extended, because it would just interfere with this. It wouldn't be able to use this piece because the other attachment for the retracted one has these pivoted backward, slid back, but it's also not bent here. You see how this is kind of like has a slight bend to it. You've got this section and then it tilts downward. Well, that's because that's what it does. The ramp goes down when it. Shoot, I almost broke off one of them. I gotta fix that. The ramp goes down when the landing gear comes out. So I wanted the ramp down because I got to have those figures back here on the ramp, but I couldn't have the landing gear out. So anyway, I used a combination of both. This was the best setup. I had to cut some holes in the bottom of this to accommodate the stand, the piece for the stand, which I may end up using or not using. I'm not sure yet. If I may end up using just the piece that goes in the bottom, but I'm thinking of popping these off so I can do the panel lining and then stick them back on. I was kind of hoping Nigel would be here tonight. He saw the when I announced the live stream, he commented on it on YouTube. So if these don't want to come off, I'll have to leave them, but I'm going to try to just gingerly kind of pull these out with a little. Looks like this one's going to come out. That's fine. There we go. That way I can do these panel lines in here and put this back together. I clear coated it as one piece, but I'm just gonna like I said, just very carefully take these out. And this will be weathered as well. It's gonna be a lot of dirt, a lot of dust. I mean, that's just pretty much how any of these Dune kits should be, because they're in the desert. They're going to be dirty. I mean, as far as weathering goes, it's going to be probably one of the easier kits to have to weather, because there's really not, the painting was just one color, so that was pretty simple. But I had to do a lot of metal prep because there was a lot of photo etch, even on these pieces here. I mean, this is also photo etch. This is the ramp. That's why it's a different color. So the ramp on top is gray for the interior, and then all this is the brown from IDF brown, or IDF gray. I don't know why they call it gray, because it looks more like brown, but whatever. Bro Builder, Brian, how you doing, buddy? You just had a birthday. Good to see you. What, crack-a-lackin'? Well, I'm just getting back into the groove here. I spent about 8 weeks on a night shift at Rivian, and that was because a friend of mine who normally runs that shift went out on medical. So, but he is back, and so I'm able to come back over here and keep working on this thing. Didn't even look, and you're working on this, still on the Ornithopter. Yes, this is the Ornithopter. In fact, here's the rest of it. Just turning some panel lines here, trying to get some of them more. I mean, that's really all where I'm at. I don't really have much else to do. What you working on? Still, yep. Birthday weekend full of home improvements. Oh, no, you had to work on your birthday? That's the worst. Well, just do like my wife. She doesn't just take it a birthday. She makes it a birthday month. So even though it's your birthday's on a day, she'll turn it into a whole month. So that's what you can do too. I'm just going to hold on to this. This will be a little bit easier to manipulate. And we're just going to... I don't want to put too much on because, you know, Tamiya accent color is known for making pieces brittle, making plastic brittle, at least Bandai stuff. This is a main kit, so it might be different, but I'm not going to take any chances. Beautiful build? Yeah. Thank you. I did get some work done while I just didn't have time to do the live stream. It was, working, like I was talking earlier, I was just saying, I had, I get home, I get off at 7 o'clock roughly, unless I had something going, a problem with somebody there. I had to, solve an issue before I left, but typically I was off at 7, and then it's a minimum hour drive home, and in the evenings it was usually that all the time. It was only about 55, 57 minutes most days at night. The drive in sucked because I had to leave to get there at 10, even though technically I wasn't supposed to start till 11, but I always came in an hour early, just to get ahead of emails and get try to get some of the administrative stuff out of the way. So I leave about 8:30 because it was like an hour and a half in. So then I get off at 7, p.m., drive home. By the time I get home, it's 8 o'clock, just maybe eat something, if that, and then go to bed and do it all over again. So it is now. It's it's kind of reversed. Now my drive in is good because I get up early, but the drive home is still kind of crap because it's now the traffic is in the afternoon. Life is unrelenting. Yes, that is true. But I think I put myself in a pretty good position with Rivian because at first when they asked if I would do that, take over the night shift, my initial response was no. But after thinking about it, I went home, talked to my wife about it, and I didn't want to be I just started there, so I didn't want to be the person that wouldn't be flexible and do what the company needs. What do you need me to do? And so I came back the next day and I said, look, whatever it is, I'll do it. What do you need me to do? And so it was horrible. And there were times where I was just, I was really struggling because the training was rough, and there were times where it seemed like I wasn't getting the support I needed because it's a very rough learning curve. And I got through it. And I started plugging away, and my manager was actually, very apologetic. He was like, "Oh my God, have you ever seen this? Have you done this?" I'm like, no one's told me how to do that. And he was like, "I am so sorry." He didn't realize the extent of my, lack of knowledge on Rivian, how the system operates and stuff, and how the computer program that they use work, how the software program they use works. And because he was also coming in off of a leave. So the guy that hired me was actually is not my current boss. I was there for about a month when when that changed over too. So even though it was a struggle, Boba, which boxing? Oh, he's got an RC card, Brian. Yeah. So even though it was a struggle at times, I think I'm a better manager now coming out the other end of this for now than I was going in. As hard as it was at times to deal with, it paid off in the end. It's worth it. And even my brother I was talking to him about it. He's a guy who's managed people for a long time, and he was telling me, just stick with it. You'll be better off in the end when this is all said and done. And the people that don't do that, and the people that some people that you might work with who are unwilling to be flexible. They're going to be overlooked, rather than, if something came up, whether it be a promotion or another opportunity, the people that have put themselves in a position to be flexible will be the first ones, considered versus the ones that don't. And so that I'm thankful for, because I think I have put myself in a better position than I would have been had I not taken the job. Even though, man, it was painful at times. Oh yeah, you were thinking scale model kits? Yeah, it's a whole different beast. I know. What's funny, Brian, is if Isaiah's still here, he's one of my coworkers, and there was one night where he was staying late working on his car, and I was getting ready for the night shift guys to show up and go to work. So it was about 5. It was after 5 o'clock. So most of the main shop is quiet because all the main shop techs have kind of gone home for the day. So just getting ready for those guys to show up, and I hear this sound, this high pitched sound, and I look over and here's an RC car sliding around, drifting, and it's like, oh, That's what I'm hearing. Without a body on it, just just testing out the car. But I got to see some of the pictures when he was prepping the body for that. Did some pretty good masking, I'll tell you. It's different, definitely a different animal, like you're saying. Because there's not only the car, the inner workings of the RC car, but there's also the modeling aspect of it when it comes down to the body and things like that. Up as leaders, good on you. We need to step up as leaders, yeah. Yeah, well, it's a different kind of stress. I spent the last 33 years as a technician, so more than half of my life fixing cars. I started out knowing nothing. My dad had taught me basically 2 years, just kind of like mobile auto repair, working on some of his old customers. He was semi-retired, and we were living together. And the job I had was at a hardware store. They were going out of business, so it was kind of like, what am I going to do now? So he asked me if I wanted to be a technician, and taught me the basics. And then, fortunately, a family friend of ours was a Honda service manager, local Honda service manager, and he said he needed to hire a couple of entry-level technicians and wanted to know if I wanted a shot at a dealership. Well, I looked over at my dad, and my dad's like, yeah, go for it. Not having any formal training in the automotive industry. Even my brothers both took, auto shop in high school. I never did. I was the artist. I was always doing, cartooning and that kind of stuff, so I had no interest in turning wrenches. But I found out that, I had a natural ability, I guess, for it. One of the things that happened, my dad was, there was a point in his life where he thought he was diagnosed with a terminal illness. They're like, you only got 6 months to live. So he's kind of giving away all his stuff. He gives me his motorcycle. And one day I blow it up, because I don't know how to take care of it. So I don't change oil often enough. And I blow it up. Just picking up the old hobby again. Cart the RC bug. Yeah, I know. One at a time, one hobby at a time, right? Brian says, I used to own a couple RC cars, barely got into the modification before I got distracted. Yeah, like I said, one hobby at a time sometimes. It's all expensive, so you got to pick one. But anyway, I didn't know how to take care of, properly take care of a motorcycle, let alone a car, maintenance on a car. So I ended up, driving it too long on the original oil that I had, and blew it up. And so, but at the time I was living in a condo complex with a roommate of mine, and somebody that had their car, or their car part was like two car parts away. Well, anyway, they had the same motorcycle, same bike, same year, same color, everything, just sitting there. He wasn't using it. So I put a note on his windshield of his car, asked him if he was willing to sell it, and he ended up selling it to me. So I took that engine out and I put it in bike, didn't think much of it. Fast forward to the day where my dad is like asking me if I want to be a technician. And I'm saying, well, do you think I can do that? And he says, I saw you take a motorcycle engine out with no books and a set of hand tools, and you put it together and you got it running. He goes, I think you can do this. I'm like, all right. So I spent a couple years with him, and then of course I went to Honda. That's how I got into the dealer industry. Was it's just knowing a friend. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. So then I did this for almost 34 years. But my body is just is just beat up. Having done that, I did sports as well growing up, martial arts when I was older, as an adult, instructor, taekwondo instructor, all these things. So I did all this stuff, and my body is just beat to shit. So this is a nice change. It's a different kind of stress, but I'm not turning wrenches. I'm not lifting heavy things like tires and wheels and drive units and all that stuff. So in the end, I'm going to be better off. But it's definitely a learning curve that let's put it this way. I didn't anticipate it being this challenging. I thought, it'll be different. Sure, I've mentored guys before. Shouldn't be a problem. I haven't done maybe as many at one time, but I've mentored guys before. But it was nothing what what I thought in my head was the way it was going to play out. Definitely was not the way it played out. Especially with them asking me to do that night shift. But again, I'm happy I decided to do it. I think it was a valuable experience, albeit difficult, but here we are. Keep moving forward. Continuous improvement, right? Just picking up an old hobby again. That's right, yeah, but you have to know what you know before you know you can really make a difference. Yep. And how are you going to know that unless you just try it, It's one of the things my dad used to tell me, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Even when I've had job offers and, somebody goes, well, you're not looking, why are you looking for work? Well, I'm not looking for work. Why would you want to do this? Why you want to do that? And it's like, there's nothing wrong with talking to somebody. There's nothing wrong with having a conversation, because you don't know in the end, nothing ventured, nothing gained. If you sit on your hands all day long, then you're really going to go nowhere. Just like the old hockey analogy, like Wayne Gretzky used to say, it's like, you never score any goals that you don't shoot. You're never going to score if you don't shoot. So shoot the puck, basically, So that's, I'm thinking of that analogy. It's like, you're not going to score unless you try. You're not always going to score, but yeah, why not learn always? Exactly. Yeah. And again, when I took the job in night crew, I didn't know what it was going to entail. And in fact, I thought the operation would run very similar to because this is the commercial side of it. The delivery vans are for Amazon. They work on them at night because obviously the vans are being used during the day to deliver packages. So I thought, okay, this is just going to be the same operation as on the consumer side as it will be at night. It's just going to be working on these vans, but completely different the way things are run. Was not prepared for that, and it was rough at first. A lot more administrative stuff, I think, than I was expecting it to be. And even what I'm doing now is still has a lot of administrative work, but I'm working with a good bunch of guys. I'm going to be getting a lot closer to 4 or 5 express techs that are there. So eventually I'll be moving to a different side of the shop once I get all of this, all of the striping down. I got to finish cleaning the shop up and putting all the tape down. I was saying earlier in the live stream, everything's got a place. So they want to. Julius, hey stranger, hey what? Everything's labeled. Everything has a place. different colors mean different things. You know, I've got red tape goes around fire extinguishers and this and that, and blue tape is for work areas, you know, flat work areas and lifts and stuff like that. And then you got green, which is for your eye wash stations and first aid kits, stuff like that. So it's a matter of sorting everything out. You got to sort where things go, standardizing it, and properly labeling everything. Everything's got, you know, floors have big, you know, all the equipment will have its own spot, have different labels. It's a pretty involved process, but just like anything else, I'll get through it. It's just rough. Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. Exactly, Brian. I've heard that very recently, actually. Master Dembski, always a pleasure. Yeah. I believe you have a finished model. Oh, you're talking to Julius? Oh. I think you owe me a finished model too. Kidding. I don't know. I don't even have any idea what you're talking about. All right, so now I've got a few parts of this landing gear done. I'm going to clean them up. So, but I'm going to use I always go back to these and I talk about them every time I use them. These are my Daiso blue Q-tips. They have one pointed end and one standard round end, and they don't shed as much as a standard Q-tip, which I like, especially when you're panel lining stuff. I mean, you still, as they get worn out, you still get fibers. But the important thing is that they don't shed as much. If you do get those fibers, you can take them off easily enough before you do your clear coats. And then you end up finding those fibers anyway, because as soon as you do a clear coat, it lights up, you know, like a Christmas tree, basically. So I'm just going to grab each one at a time again and start doing. Hope these have had a chance to dry a little bit. Oh, you talking to me, Brian? You can send me? No, I was kidding. I was just making this. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do next. Everybody keeps asking me, so what are you going to do? You know, when you start getting close to the end, like, I'm not sure how close this is to being finished, but it's certainly getting there because all the paint is essentially done. It's just more of the detailing stuff, panel lining like I'm doing now, and a little bit of weathering, some dirt. I've got to figure out what kind of base I'm going to come up with, whether I use the base that came with the kit or something else. I'm not going to go too crazy, but this model does have a pretty large footprint, especially when the wings are up in it. So I got to think about, you know, how much space do I really take up. But anyway, I haven't decided what I want to do next. I do have one of the, I don't remember the actual Zentradi name of it, but I've got I have two of the Miria versions, Quedlin Row armors, right, from Macross. But I do have one of the male versions sitting in, I also have Max as well, but I have one of the male versions sitting in my private warehouse at Hoglink. So I may end up having that shipped finally. It's still sitting there in my warehouse because now that they don't require you to get rid of your stuff right away, they'll hold it to you. Why not both? What does that say? Ever make New Jersey? Ever make it to New Jersey? Oh, you guys are talking. Not me. I haven't been to New Jersey. or New York for that matter. But anyway, got one of those sitting there. I might treat myself since we're working at the Renaissance Fair. We're under contract, so we actually get paid to be actors out there, and so it's kind of nice. So I got a little extra cash coming in, and I can treat myself to some expedited shipping maybe, and get that FedEx delivered in a couple of days. It's going to cost an arm and leg either way because shipping is kind of ridiculous right now. But yeah, it's just been sitting there, and I haven't had it delivered yet. So I might try that out. That might be something to do. And I thought, well, what I could, because I have another. I have two more Quaylen Rose. I've got the Max version and another Myriad version. I thought, ooh, what can I do? Can I do the scene where she punches through the face of one of the males in Charlie and then just kind of blows them away? Or something different. I don't know. Need a new Q-tip here. Kind of used up that one. So we're going to go straight to the sharp pointed one here for this one. The nice part about this is that I don't have to be entirely clean about it because everything is going to be weathered anyway. There's going to be a lot of dust in some of these parts, and this color is just dark enough that it can be represented in whatever's left. It could be construed as an oil leak or something like that. So it doesn't have to be perfect. There can still be some. I mean, not a lot. Obviously, I got to be a little bit diligent about it, but some of this can look like grime. Left over, once you wipe it down a little bit. Same goes for you, Mike. I'm literally you're literally on the ocean. See, standing up. Oh, that's right, Lower Manhattan. That's right, because you moved to New Jersey. Yeah, that's cool. I think you sent me a picture once of your view. I'm quite impressed. That was really nice. Across the water, obviously, plenty of jerseys. Oh, you mean come out and visit? That'd be fun. So I haven't even been able to listen to Brian's podcast. Brobo, who's got a podcast called Built Sideways. I think you're still doing it, right? You guys haven't quit doing that, as far as I know. I kind of had a little falling out with Julio, unfortunately, but I'm hoping he's still doing well. That jersey in 2021. Yeah, I remember that. East for any real reason, yeah. Yeah, it'd be fun. I don't know. I have to see. I don't have any plans at the moment, but right now we've just been working. I said working at the Renaissance Fair, a little extra money, and I'm still getting in the groove with the new job, even though it's been 3 months, roughly a little bit more. Still quite a bit to learn. And now I'm just doing the physical labor of get up and crawling around on my hands and knees, essentially just doing all the taping. It's hard work. My old bones don't like doing crawling around on the floor. But I could always get the younger kids, the Express to help. But they also have a job to do too, so I got to make sure that they're, not distracted. They've got to take care of some of the quick work we need them to. I think maybe in the afternoons when it's a little bit more relaxed, the work's almost done, that kind of thing, where I can maybe pull them aside and have them kind of help out. But in the meantime, everybody's just got to do their part. My part right now is fixing the shop up, making it look standardized and neat. And standing invitation. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, we can talk on the side, Brian. No big deals there. I don't like doing politics in my live streams anyway, but it's unfortunate. It affects a lot of people in different ways. And can easily strain any kind of relationship. I think this brown was a good choice because it's whatever's left behind is really kind of taking on that grime look, which is perfect, especially with a lot of moving parts. Like there's quite a bit of photo etch that was installed on these landing gear pieces, so it looks like a lot of integral moving parts, and so there's going to be grease, there's going to be grime, and then some of that will be muted a little bit with the dust and weathering that will be added later. Because what I'll do is I'll go back and flat coat all these pieces, and then that'll set the panel lines, and then I can go back and just really just dust them up, because it doesn't have to be too much after that. It's just making it look like it's a little bit of wear and tear there. Yeah, it'd be good to see you guys. Good to see Brian again. I think was it this year or was it last year? I guess CGMC was on my birthday or on the day after. I can't remember. I think it might have been on my birthday. Maybe it's this year. I can't remember. What day does November 7th fall on this year? I'd like to get back out there again, but I don't know. California's not doing too well either, so. Almost got most of these pieces done. And we got a little bit more time. I started at roughly 10 after, I think. I hadn't had my computer on much leading up to this, so I had to, last night I turned it on and did all the updates, thought I did all the updates, and of course then I get back on today and it's like, nope, you got to restart again. So I had to restart, make sure everything was working properly before I get on, and had to do a couple updates, but I got it running about 10 after. Like I said, I was here early, but it was all the restarts and all that crap I had to go through with the laptop, make sure that it was all good to go. Because I noticed if I don't keep my laptop on, or don't turn it on every day, it'll get kind of finicky. All right, one last piece of this. We're going to do just there's really not a whole lot to this, just the piece of the ramp here. November 7th is a Saturday. Yeah, if that's the day they're doing SCGMC, that'll fall exactly on my birthday this year. Oh, look, YouTube. All those window things were one. Voluntold to reboot midward. What are you talking about? Now I'm getting spam from YouTube? No way. Come on now. That usually doesn't happen. Anyway, if they do SCGMC on November 7th or on Saturday, I thought they were doing it on a Sunday. At least they did last year. But yeah, if it worked out, I could do it. Get down there. One of the nice things about this new job is that I basically have no set amount of PTO. If I need a day off, I can take it. They're pretty generous to the rest of the employees too, as far as how much PTO and personal time everybody gets. They get quite a bit right out of the box, and there's no waiting period. It's like day one. As soon as you're hired, and it's like, here you go. Here's your time off, which is kind of nice. But most of the other employees have a specific amount of that time, whereas management, we do not. We have whatever time we want, we can take it within reason. Obviously, if you're there not there 90% of the time, there's going to be some problems, but at least if you need that time, you can take it. And I've used a few days already, but most of it's been for doctor appointments or basic stuff like that. Je ne sais pas. I have to go. Okay, see you later, Brian. I think that's what you're trying to say. I don't speak Spanish, so good to see you, man. Thanks for joining in. I appreciate you. So we're just doing the landing gear / ramp here for those that have maybe just joined in. This is just panel lining all of the landing gear pieces. And this is primarily the ramp that comes down in the back. And it has to be open for the figures that go on it. Almost there. There's quite a bit of photo etch on this too. Many people in chat are considered spam. It's just referring to forced updates where Windows suddenly forces you to reboot whether you want it or not. Oh, okay. Sorry, Almanacs. I didn't realize that. I thought it was spam. I apologize. I would not intentionally do that. I didn't recognize it. And didn't recognize you. I'm sorry. That was my fault. By all means, continue to comment. I don't want to discourage anybody from commenting. That's why it kind of surprised me. It was my fault. I misinterpreted what you were saying. Yeah, no, it was just, I didn't have to, it didn't restart my computer without my intention. It was just having to go through and, having not turned on my PC for a while because I've been working a night shift. I wasn't able to do the live stream for a bit. So, my PC was like, needed to update everything. So I got most of it done yesterday, but took a little bit longer this evening to get the rest before I could go online. So anyway, Almanacs, accept my apology. I'm sorry. I did not mean to discourage you in any way. A lot of times I'm glancing up and down trying to look at the chat, while I'm working on whatever I'm working on, and sometimes I catch bits and pieces, and I just misinterpreted what you were saying. Only caught a part of it. All right, we're almost done with this. I'm gonna go for a little while longer here. I've already panel lined the top of this ramp. What I'm really just doing is the sides because that was all stuff that was painted later. The ramp was painted first, and then that was glued on. Afterwards. So now that the clear coats are on, I can leave the ramp alone, and I'm just going to do the rest here. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect either because it'll just be interpreted as grime. Maybe quite a bit of dust added later. I got this other side to do. I want to finish up. Just going to keep plugging away on the panel lines throughout the week. I don't know if I'll get any more work done on this. There's just a lot of this mundane part to do. I'll finish all the wings. Got 7 more of those to do. All right, I'm going to cut this off. All right, let's reassemble this. So these go in front. I could glue these in if I wanted to now, which I may end up doing later. It won't be difficult. These go all the way in the back. At least these pegs too are different shapes and sizes, so there's really no confusing which one you put, which goes where. It's pretty straightforward. One more. All right, I think that's good enough. A little bit of a touch up here. Just noticed a little small chip, so I'm going to touch this up real quick. This is on the ramp. Okay, that's all she wrote. Thinner here. All right, so we managed to get done tonight. Just a lot of panel lining to do. So I'm going to keep plugging away. see, weekends are kind of busy with Renaissance Fair stuff right now, but I have a little bit of time, hopefully throughout the week, to continue doing the lines. I'm not going to fully press this in. Now you can kind of see this is where that headlamp assembly goes. It swivels right in here. So this can still sit on the ground, but it's going to be nose down in kind of a takeoff position. And then I've got 2 resin figures that'll go on the ramp back here, and then there's 2 that'll go in the cockpit. Actually, I can take that off real quick here. Kind of see what I'm talking about. I took the. Let's see if I can get this off without causing damage. Whew. It's kind of hard to get this off, but now you can see inside. So you got all the photo etch, the seats with seat belts. And then this seat here, the front or the back, actually the front row here on, which would be your left, I guess. That's where one of the figures is going to sit, and then the pilot, of course, is going to sit up here. But the reason the seat's not in the front is because I've got to make sure that his feet and everything are in the pedals. So I've got to glue him in last, probably, and that way I can slide it forward. Because you also have the control levers that have to go in. Those have to be a certain distance away from his hands. And then, again, we cleaned up all the seams on this entire roof piece here. Those were all sealed and sanded and then painted. And then these were installed using shims to extend them to reach the right depth in the receiver wells here. So each wing will be at a different, these are all at the same height, left to right. So then each wing will be installed at the end. And then I've got, if we flip this over, you can see all the interior as well going forward. All those are resin pieces as well as photo etch inside, and there'll be a little bit of touching up going along this bottom edge of the photo etch. You can still see some brass there kind of shining, so I gotta touch that up, and that's just from handling it. And then this ramp will go in just like this, and that will fully complete the whole ramp setup in there. So anyway, that's where we're at, guys. All right, so let me get through the list here. Let me go. Actually, let's do this. Let's go back up here. All right, so thanks again for joining in, guys. This is the first one back in about 8 weeks, approximately 8 weeks, about 2 months. I did do one little impromptu one in there. Julius was first in, then Giovanni. Then we had Isaiah, and then Giovanni again. Let's see, we get down to Impeccable something from Twitch, and then we had Old School George jump in. Good to see him again. Then Brian, Mr. Bro Builder, and getting down here. Oh, Bo Central. Oh, that's Isaiah. Never mind. Just trying to go through the list here, make sure I don't miss anybody. Julius. Yeah, we get down to the bottom here, and then we had Almanacs. Thank you so much, Almanacs. And again, I apologize for misinterpreting what I was reading. I glanced up and thought it was because occasionally we do get spammed from bots on some of these channels, and but I completely dropped the ball on that one, and I missed it. I'm sorry. So again, feel free to engage. I appreciate each and every one of you guys' support. Giovanni says good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you again. And as always, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. And we're going to keep doing this Wednesday nights again. So we'll see you guys next week. And we'll see how much more I can get done in between live streams. But probably not a whole hell of a lot, just because the weekends are kind of busy with all that going on. And the work schedule still has me working a full day most days anyway. So good night, George. Good to see you again. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. All right. So the end of it all is another successful live stream. Be good humans. Peace out. See you next one.